Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving deep into the world of global shipping, where geopolitical currents are literally redrawing the risk map right before our very eyes. And it all starts with a single, pretty startling number. Take a look at this. Over 100. That's the number of Chinese naval, coast guard, and, get this, maritime militia vessels that are currently mobilized across East Asia. We're talking about everything from destroyers to fishing boats that are basically integrated into military operations, swarming waters from the Yellow Sea out to the Western Pacific. So, the big question is, what does all this actually mean? Well, this huge deployment isn't just some isolated event happening in a vacuum. It's a key piece of a much bigger story, a new era of what we're calling interconnected risk. Think of it like this. A military move in one ocean can create a massive economic tidal wave in another. And today, we're going to break down exactly what that means for you.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the big picture of this new risk map. Then we'll dive straight into the rising tensions in the Pacific. From there, we'll head over to the Atlantic to look at security, see how it's all creating a global ripple effect. And finally, we'll get to the most important part, your strategic takeaway.
So first up, this new global risk map. We are in a totally new environment. The old way of thinking, that a problem over there stays over there, that's completely out the window. What we're seeing now is that military flexing in the Pacific has a direct, almost instant economic impact on shipping lanes in the Atlantic and everywhere else. It's all connected. Okay, let's get into where things are really heating up, the tension in the Pacific. We're talking about that unprecedented naval activity in East Asia. And let's be crystal clear, this is not business as usual. It is a major escalation, both in the sheer number of ships involved and, frankly, in how aggressive they're being. And get this is the detail from the latest intel that really makes you sit up and take notice. Chinese forces are conducting mock targeting drills on foreign commercial ships as they pass by. Just let that sink in. This isn't just a show of force. It's an active, in-your-face disruption that forces every single vessel in the region to immediately reassess its risk. And of course, this has a direct operational impact. You have China's actions on one side, massive drills, intensified monitoring of key straits, and on the other side, the real-world consequences. The U.S. Navy is increasing surveillance, and commercial carriers are being forced to add buffer time, extra days to their schedules, or even reroute their entire journey to avoid these hot zones. So here's the bottom line. This isn't some theoretical problem for the future. The consequences are happening right now. Insurers are actively rewriting war risk premiums. Shipping schedules are being thrown into chaos. The entire risk map for any company linked to Asia has been redrawn, and it happened incredibly fast. Now, let's switch gears and head over to the Atlantic, because while all of that is flaring up in the Pacific, a really significant new security alliance is taking shape up in the North, and it's designed to counter a very different kind of threat. 13. That's the magic number here. It's the minimum number of advanced anti-submarine warships that the UK and Norway have just agreed to operate together. And we're not talking about just any ships. This is state-of-the-art stuff, like the new Type 26 frigates. So, what's the strategy here? It's pretty clear. You have the pact itself, this joint fleet, redirecting resources to focus on the North Sea. And the payoff? Well, they're essentially creating what you could call an Atlantic shield. It's a defensive alliance to protect all that vital infrastructure sitting on the seabed that our entire global economy depends on. The data cables that carry our internet, the pipelines that deliver our energy, all of it. All right, on to the global ripple effect. Like we said at the start, none of this is happening in a bubble. These military moves are sending out massive shockwaves, economic ones, regulatory ones, and they are being felt across the entire global supply chain. And you can see this perfectly in the tough choice that carriers are facing right now. A year after the major disruptions in the Red Sea, they're still stuck between a rock and a hard place. Do you take the faster but still risky route through the Suez Canal? Or do you play it safe with the much longer, much more expensive trip around Africa's Cape of Good Hope? This uncertainty is just wreaking havoc on transit times. And if you want to see what that volatility looks like in pure dollars and cents, here it is. Hapag-Lloyd, one of the biggest shipping lines in the world, reported its profits are down by nearly 50%. That is a stark, black and white illustration of how geopolitical risk translates directly into economic pain. So, as if all that wasn't enough to deal with, you've got this geopolitical uncertainty creating immediate financial pain.
But that is not the only storm on the horizon. At the exact same time, the industry is grappling with another huge challenge: stalled progress on global climate regulations.
You see, the International Maritime Organization, the IMO, was supposed to deliver a global framework for getting to net zero, a unified roadmap for decarbonization. But that plan has been delayed again. And that leaves carriers totally in the dark as they try to make these massive long-term investment decisions on things like green fuels and technology.
And the impact of this delay is huge. It creates a fractured, messy landscape. Instead of one global standard, we're probably going to see a mishmash of different national rules. This means carriers from the US, China, and Europe could all be playing by completely different sets of rules, which, as you can imagine, leads to unfair competition and is a recipe for trade disputes.
So, let's pull all these different threads together. What does this all mean for your strategic planning? How in the world do you navigate these incredibly choppy waters? Well, the intelligence suggests a whole new playbook is needed. First, you have to price in the military escalation in Asia. It's already driving up insurance premiums. Second, you need to monitor these new alliances, like the UK-Norway Pact, because they're shifting naval dynamics. Third, just expect continued volatility around the Suez Canal. And finally, you have to learn how to navigate the huge regulatory gaps left by the IMO's delays.
And as these global patterns shift, new strategic roles are emerging. With carriers trying to rebalance their routes away from all these volatile zones, places like Canada are becoming more and more important. Their ports are turning into a strategic buffer, a key stabilizing point for the entire North American supply chain. This all points to one critical thing. Navigating this new, complex map requires a constant flow of information. We're talking about the continuous tracking of geopolitical events, security advisories, and routing changes, all so you can make informed decisions. This kind of intelligence has gone from being a luxury to an absolute necessity. And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway. It really leaves you with a crucial question to ask for your own operations. In this new era of interconnected risk and constant volatility, is having real-time intelligence just some optional extra? Or has it become the fundamental cost of doing business?